Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of EDU 600. Next week on Monday, we start week number 5 or module number 5. And as you know, there's only 7 weeks in this class. So, well, maybe a little bit longer because I'm going to give you a little longer to complete the final assignment. But you are making tremendous progress. So keep with it. I know there's a lot. I know it's intense. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the effort that you're putting in. So let's get to week 5 in 1 second. I just want to kind of circle back and take a look at the assignments at this point. Come on. Okay, the article capture assignments, everybody has submitted those. If you have not, please get them into me as soon as possible. Critique number 1, that is due. Today is the 27th, which is the Saturday, July 27th. That's due tomorrow by midnight. But if you can't get it to me by midnight tomorrow, Monday would be fine. I hate to put a deadline of midnight because if you're 90% there and you need a little bit of time, one more day is not going to make a difference. So the qualitative critique is due Sunday. It could be, if you need to submit it on Monday, that's fine also. Visual displays of data assignment is coming up. That is, like I said, it's not a major assignment. And let me just click on that for a second. So that's due on the 31st. I'm going to click on that. Edit the assignment so you can see what's there. Visual and display sources. What I would like you to do is, in the week, a couple weeks ago, I had videos on visual and displays of data. You can refresh your memory by taking a look at that again. But what I'd like you to do is select one example of a data report and data representation from the links provided, or your own source. And then I'd like you to tell your story, meaning, you know, what is this pie chart? What is this graph telling you? What's the data source? What are the variables being measured? What's being displayed, etc. So this doesn't have to be a major assignment. And as an example, I will show you an exemplar from last semester. Okay, hang on. Okay, on the screen right now, you can see an example of a visual display of data. And in this case, the student chose this particular graphic, and they wrote in this assignment, which I always appreciate for any assignment, in the assignment, the purpose of this paper, just a quick introduction, a sentence or two about what the purpose of your assignment is. Meaning, okay, in this case, you are going to analyze, you are going to tell the story of the data. And I have to tell you, with this example up there, this is really, it's an exemplar, but it's far more than I would expect out of anybody to do. So a little bit about the assignment, the actual graphics, the characteristics of it. You know, the subject of the data are split into 2 groups, Vermonters, and then the story. You know, in a nutshell, this is really what I'm looking for. What is the story of this graph, or what is the story of this data? And the whole idea behind this is we are bombarded with visual displays of data, maybe not numbers and tables, but just a visual display. I think a lot of us have used data in, just say, PowerPoint presentations, but we don't overcomplicate it with numbers. We just put the graphics. And so your goal for this assignment is to pick any source you want. It could be one that I highlight on Brightspace, or it could be any other graphic visual display that you want to talk about. So you tell, what are the characteristics? What's the story of it? This student went into a little more detail about the conclusion. That's not necessary, and then gave a reference. So that is, please don't overcomplicate this. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. It's worth 10 points, and it's due on the 31st of July. Any questions, please let me know. Okay, I'm going to go back to the assignments. Not that one. I'm going to go back, edit, I'm in there, back to the assignment so you can see where we are at. Okay, so we have the visual display, and then we have this critique number 2. And it's very similar to the critique that you're doing right now, the qualitative critique, which is due tomorrow. One headline, it's not due on August 4th. I pushed it out to the following week. It's due on August 7th. So you have a week and a half to get this done. And then let's stop here as far as the assignments go. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I'll talk about them more as we go through the week 5 material. So I'm going to go back to the content area. Week 5, there's 2 parts. So you come over here, we have part 1 and part 2. We are looking now, we're fully involved with quantitative research, in this case experimental research. And many of you might be very familiar with experimental research. And it could be, I just went on a run today and I was thinking about what's a simple explanation of experimental research. Well, first of all, it could be something to do with cancer treatment. You have a control group and you have another group of people that are getting a new chemotherapy drug. And all of the other variables, just for the time being, say are the same. And they have the same type of cancer, and really they're seeing are the results from this new chemotherapy drug more effective than the control group. So that's a very simplistic view of experimental research. And so I'm going to leave a lot of this up to you this week to take a look at it. What is experimental research? This type of research strictly adheres to a scientific research design, meaning you are controlling, you have an independent variable, and that's the variable that you are manipulating. What's the purpose of it? You can read through that. And then I put some information in here about experimental research significant testing. So how can you tell if the results between just a group A, the control group, and group B, the group that's getting the new chemotherapy drug, what if they are statistically significant? So I encourage you to take a look at that. Another video on experimental research, experimental research designs. This is a really good one. And I just added this morning, effective use of statistics in research. So click on that and it takes you to a whole bunch of information. So to do this week, I'd like you to read chapters 8 and 9 and identify 2 to 3 quotes from each chapter that help you understand the concepts about experimental research in chapter 8 and factorial designs in chapter 9, and write them out. These are for you. Keep them for you. Read, there's a brief summary here, very brief explanation that I put in here, and I do say then really the bulk of what I'd like you to focus on is this experimental research. So please read the experimental research. This is the research. This is the article. Give your ideas some legs. Now, really important, there are 4 experiments as part of this experimental research article, meaning they try different things. For the experimental critique, the paper, the critique, I only want you to write about one of them. So it could be 1 or 2, it could be 3 or 4, but I strongly encourage you to pick either 1 or 2. And it's detailed in the actual research. So let me let me look at this for a second. And so let's go here. Okay, so here's the article. And right out of the chute, it says 4 experiments demonstrate that walking boosts creative ideation. So that's the overarching explanation of this research. You have 4 experiments. Get into the mind-body connection. This is, their version of a literature. And for those that have kind of asked questions about, should I put an introduction in the paper, you can see they did in this research article in APA formatting. You're allowed to put an introduction. Just don't title it introduction. Just in this case for the critique, I would love to see 1 or 2 sentences about the purpose of this paper is to critique an experimental research paper, blah, blah, blah. So you come down here, another part, creative thinking, creativity and thinking, and then you get into experiment 1. This is what I mean. There's 4 experiments. Each experiment goes through what it is, how they did, what was the method, the participants, design and procedure, how they coded it, results, discussion. That is it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than focusing in on just the first part. There's experiment 2, there's 3 and 4. So I've had some students that have gone far, they've go way overboard, and they critique all 4 experiments. There's no need to do that. Just focus in on, I suggest, either experiment 1 or experiment 2. So let me go back here. So I'd like you to read the article fully. And this is really what you are going to be writing your paper on, and I'll get to that in a second. There's also another example in here about experimental research. Some commonly used statistical tests for quantitative research. The t-test. P-value. If you're going to focus in on anything, please focus in on the p-value. Really, p-value that's less than 0.05, it means that there's statistical significance with the results. Anything over 0.05, it means the results, they might be important, but they're not statistically significant. I have an optional discussion forum. You do not need to do that, but if you would like to, please feel free to do that. And one last thing, we have an optional Zoom drop-in meeting this Thursday, August 1st at 6:30 p.m. And here's the link for that. Okay, so that's the first part. Let me go to the second part. Second part is right here. And I am going to let everybody read through these, but this is on single subject research. We have a bunch of, special ed folks and counseling majors, especially the counseling majors. Well, I guess both of them. You may be focusing in on single subject research. That's where you're really working on treatments for one person. So I encourage you, if that is your field in particular, pay some special attention to this. Read these chapters, view the videos, and then we have the experimental research critique coming up. And so, and we have the videos. I won't go into those, but take a look at those. Okay, so the experimental research critique. That is incorrect. It is due. Let me correct those. No matter how much I try, I always find an error or so in here. I will correct that. Excuse me. Sorry for fumbling around here, but I thought I got them all. That's August 7th. So there are 4 experiments, focus in on one, APA format, strengths, limitation, flaws. These are the headings I'd like you to use. There's guidelines. Once again, I think I get it. Sometimes I try to be too cute. 7th. And let me update that. And for those that would like, I can talk about this in more detail at our drop-in Zoom session coming up on August 1st at 6:30. So if you want to talk about that there, that is fine. All of the details are laid out here. Here's the actual, this is not a huge paper, 1,000 words to 1,200 words. And you're writing it on the article I'm asking you to read this week. 4 assignments, only focus in on one. Pretty much all of the information that you need in here. There's a rubrics for those that love rubrics. I think most everybody does like to know how this is going to be graded. You can take a look at that. So, and then you submit in here by August 7th, not the 4th. Okay, everybody, 16 minutes, far too long as always, but once again, there's a huge amount of information here. If you have any question, please let me know. And finishing up your qualitative critiques, if you're running into problems, you need some help, please give me a call. I'm around. Okay, everybody, see you later. Bye.